While I'm recording this, it's currently Sunday. Smackdown was obviously a couple days ago, but there's just a couple things that I don't really understand. Like, for example, Tamatanga versus Ilya Dragunov took place, and then we had Tamatanga no sell Ilya's chops. Now, I saw a few people defending this and saying, well, Tama's a bad dude. I understand, but they're supposed to make Ilya look like a bad dude. I mean, the dude had some of the craziest brawls when he was the United States champion. So I don't really understand why they are have. I hope they don't have more people not selling his chops because that would make him look like a doofus in a square. You got this dude. I mean, I understand Brock Lesnar not selling his chops. Many people were upset about that. But Ilya, that made Ilya's day because he posted about it, and he said it was like a dream come true. So Brock, I mean, not selling his chops, that's understandable. But then you have Tamatanga not selling his chops. I really hope they don't get to the point where they're having Trick Williams not sell Ilya's chops. They have Carmelo Hayes not selling his chops. They have anybody on the roster that goes up against Ray Phoenix no selling Ilya's chops. I hope it doesn't get to that point because that would completely diminish any credibility that has. Because you sitting here having matches of the night, having brutal brawls, but then when it comes to your chops, they just kind of stand there like a brick wall. I don't really get it. I just hope that doesn't keep happening. I really hope for Ilya's sake, at least. And then Ilya ended up taking the pin, which is, I mean, it's not by interference, so that doesn't really. It was by interference. Thomas, I see he's getting a push though. Tamatanga is probably my favorite of the MFTs. Jeff Cobb was good too, but I think that he made a huge mistake by signing with WWE during this time. They're just putting people in factions, but not really knowing how to utilize the factions. It's upsetting because Jeff Cobb was so cool back in his Ring of Honor days and New Japan days. I mean, even MJF even said that he missed Jeff Cobb and that Jeff Cobb was cool. But one cool thing that we did get was that we got Randy Orton and Aleister Black. That's a rivalry that I wanted to see. I know that they won't pull it off right. I know they won't book it correctly. I know that they'll book it to be as, more underwhelming than I would wish for. But the Viper versus a dark character like Aleister Black, that would have a lot of potential, but I know that it won't really be capitalized on, unfortunately. And then we get Jade Cargill announcing that she'll be in Atlanta tomorrow. But the thing is, her title reign has been so insignificant, and then they're circling back to Michin and B-Fab. So her title reign doesn't mean anything because the same people she started with, she's ended off with, and then they also don't know what to do with her for WrestleMania 42, even though that Jordan Grace versus Jade Cargill, that could have been something new and fresh because we've seen Tiffany versus Jade Cargill about 1,000 times. We know that Charlotte's not losing because Charlotte is only with Alexa because the company wants Charlotte to be as over as Alexa, which is why they paired them together in the first place. Because if you go back to last year's Royal Rumble, Charlotte Flair was getting mega boos, mega dislikes being ratioed, while Alexa Bliss signed with the company, signed her new contract that day, got the biggest reaction out of anyone at the Royal Rumble of 2025. So they just put them together. Same thing they did with Asuka and Charlotte, and then Charlotte ended up being, she ended up getting 1,000 more title reigns. It's going to be the same thing. That's why I'm very indifferent when it comes to Alexa and Charlotte because I already know what's up. This is just for her to get over with the audience and then, get 1,000 more championships. And then we repeat the same cycle we've been doing for 10 years. It's just the same thing, honestly. I mean, it's the same thing. So to see Jade Cargill probably most likely losing her championship if she goes against Charlotte eventually. they've already sabotaged Jade Cargill's title reign by not having any plans for her before they put the title on her. Tiffany Stratton had an injury, but They they went 100+ days without having her at least defend the championship once. Now, of course, you'll have people saying online, as usual, the shills and the sheep saying, well, that's how they build legitimacy by not having her defend the championship. That's 3 months and 10 days. That's not legitimacy. That's just you carrying around the championship like it's a Walmart prop title. That's not legitimacy with the title, is either defending it or making it look important. Her coming out here every single week and saying, I'm that I'm that B, and then walking around somebody like Bruce the Shark from Finding Nemo and then walking backstage, that does nothing. Who was that supposed to scare? She's had one championship defense, and now it's over. It's unfortunate that they didn't build anything up between Jade Cargill and Jordynne Grace, because they are two muscular beasts of women, gladiators. That would have been cool to see if it was built up properly, but they just couldn't really have that. And then Jordynne, that was her first. I mean, they could have really done something bigger with Jordynne Grace, but feeding her to Jade Cargill just for Jade Cargill to possibly go back to Michin and BFAB. As if that's going to be unbelievable if Jade Cargill ends up winning. But then we got Charlotte and Jade Cargill in a face-to-face. I don't know what that's supposed to do. But it's better than Tiffany going against Jade Cargill. It does nothing for me, because I already know they did all this stuff turning Charlotte face, because they know that once the crowd is fully invested 100% and you forget that she was overpushed corporately for 10 years, that they're gonna put all the championships on her. She's gonna be like Sheamus from WWE 12. She's gonna be like Mercedes Moné. Man, but then we got Kiana James winning. The only problem with this is, Julia they've been trying to turn Julia into this Asuka, Io Shirai heel type character, and instead of turning her into herself, because I think the people in charge who are writing, they don't know what Julia is or what Julia is about. They just say, well, you're Asian, so you're Japanese, so let's go out there, have you speak Japanese, have you do the little thingies, have you do the stereotypical Japanese stuff, and we'll let you get your stuff in. Actually, no, scratch that. You're gonna lose to Rhea Ripley, who's already in the Elimination Chamber. We're gonna have you go up against Rhea Ripley again, have you lose to her again. So during Julia's championship reign currently, Julia has now lost to Rhea Ripley twice by a pin and a DQ. I don't understand. I don't get it. There's a tag match a couple weeks ago where Julia and Kiana James went up against Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. Julia took the pin for whatever reason as a champion. She's been taking the pin. Actually, on Julia's Monday Night Raw debut on Netflix, Julia took the pin to Rhea Ripley. I don't get why they put the championships on people and have them lose all the time. It's just like Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes took the pin. He took the pin last week against Tama Tonga for whatever reason. He's a championship title holder. Julia took the pin to Rhea Ripley. Now Jimmy Uso took the pin to Bronson Reed. Now Bronson Reed, that's a whole different discussion, because the dude, they gave him a victory over Roman Reigns and then gave him nothing after that. So you have one of the biggest draws in the company now, because the companies don't produce star power. WWE doesn't make stars. They just make people. They just have people say words and do moves. The matches are longer than ever because they have to compensate for not making many creative moments. I mean, you have a match go on for 16, 20 minutes. And then the people who are in the match are only in the match because they were backstage in a segment and they said, Adam Pearce, I want something from you. And then the other star says, hey, well, I want something from Adam Pearce too. oh, did you interrupt me? Let's have a match next week. And then they have a match that lasts 20 minutes. And then since there's no real rivalry or story to build off of, they just go their separate ways. That's what happens. On SmackDown, it was Jordan Grace interrupting Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae says, I know you're new here, but you know, you wait your turn. And Candice LeRae was like, so and so. No, Jordan Grace was like, so and so. Well, we can just have a match then. And so now they're going to have a match that's probably going to last 10 plus minutes over nothing. So, you know, nothing of substance really. It's just, you know, we going to have a match because you interrupted me instead of, well, I don't like you or you did something to me that will be memorable forever. You know, let's have a rivalry. Let's have a storyline. None of that. Just, hey, you interrupted my sentence. Let's fight next week. We're not going to have anything to go off of, though. No rivalry, no nothing. We're just going to have a match. But yeah, the same week that Kiana James wins, Julia loses. It's been like that for a little bit. Even like Royal Rumble, Kiana James is allowed to showcase herself, which is amazing. Kiana James has been... At least it's not Kaylee Ray status, you know, where Kaylee Ray held the championship for over 649 days. She's a complete jobber, unfortunately. Secret Herb is garbage instead of being herself. So at least it's not that with Kiana. But Kiana James, you know, she's the manager of a champion, but the champion loses. So, but Kiana James going to the Elimination Chamber, which is amazing. Then we get Kit Wilson versus Obafemi. Kit Wilson, I'm probably make a video on that. Kit Wilson is he gets bigger reactions from the audience than most of the stars who are supposed to be main eventers and a bigger deal than he is. And that's because he did something that the company doesn't really like to do. He likes to make his entrance feels important, is interactive. He's got a Titantron. He's one of the only people with a Titantron. I think Logan Paul is the only other person in LA Knight, but yeah, and also he has a character. You know, not many people have characters. A lot of people just have this gimmick, and then, you know, they just kind of have a match. But Kit Wilson's entertaining. Not many people are. You know, he's what you call one that got away. Kit Wilson is a scenario as to which the company doesn't like to make stars, but he made himself a star, you know. Every time he comes out, you know, just Kit Wilson, and then he does the thing, and then the audience can't have fun with because the modern entrance music, you know, is garbage. You don't really know who's coming out, especially during Royal Rumble and in other countries. But you'll have, you know, they'll say their catchphrase in front of the song, you know, like, for example, it's Tiffy time. And then you'll have the beat drop. I want to see you drop. Garbage song. I think her NXT song was better when she had the flash photography. That entrance went hard. Downgrade on the main roster, of course. Just like they want to change Sol Ruka's entrance for whatever reason. Just find the way it is. But yeah, Obafemi was read a poem by Kit Wilson. And it's... See, stuff like this, you know, is entertaining. Kit Wilson, I think he's one of the Trick Williams and Trick Williams, Obafemi, and Kit Wilson are the most entertaining people on SmackDown. Also, I think her name was Victoria D'Erico. They were in Florida, so she was the referee. She was the NXT referee. She refereed Obafemi's first main roster match, which I think is cool. But then we get R-Truth talking about balls again. So that's like that's got to be like 3, 4, 5 months we have R-Truth talking about balls to Nick Aldis because we got nothing else for him, unfortunately. We brought him back, you know. I mean, Triple H didn't want to bring him back. You know, Nick Khan brought him back and Triple H was upset. You know, I've heard from multiple reports that that's what happened because, you know, folding under Backlash and people were talking about, that, just pretty much bullying and pressing the company. And then Triple H was like, it's all a part of the show. And then R-Truth said, no, it's not a work. And then R-Truth's son was like, Cap. And then he was brought back. And then, you know, we never had that match with him and John, unfortunately, but having our truth talk about balls. I mean, who has this been written for exactly? Because it's not for the audience. It stopped being funny like at least the first month, but this is like 4 or 5 months talking about nuts and balls to Nick Aldis. You know, I think this is like I think this is like December when they were having a Royal Rumble thing or something like that, and he was talking about balls then. But there was like 4 months. There's like 4 weeks in a month. So that's like 12 episodes of SmackDown of him talking about nuts and balls. I don't know who this is supposed to be funny to. I don't know who this is for. I really don't know who this is for. I don't know, cause and then we get Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. I heard a lot of Sammy sucks chants from the audience because I was watching this on my TV. So I had my speaker up, my surround sound speaker, and I heard Sammy sucks. But because Sammy ended up apologizing to Cody Rhodes, saying, "You know what, Cody, you're right." And immediately the crowd just started booing this man, and then they silenced it. It was so funny. Oh man, Sami Zayn, the dude's been an underdog for almost like. He was even booked as an underdog when he was a champion. How does that happen? You're supposed to have the gold and not be an underdog anymore. They just got nothing for the dude, unfortunately. But then we get Trick Williams. You know, I think Trick Williams is one of the most over. He's one of the fastest people to get over. Trick Williams, to me, it feels like Trick Williams has been on the main roster for at least 4 or 5 years because how over the man is. If you tune in for your first time, it's your first time watching SmackDown, and like in years, and you see how the audience reacts to Trick Williams. You think the dude's been on the main roster since before the pandemic. I mean, he kind of was. He was Apollo Crews's bodyguard. But as a wrestler, Whoop That Trick and Kit Wilson's entrance are so over. And that's how it should be, you know, because, you know, they don't really care about WWE doesn't see entrances as important anymore, so you don't really get much of that fun aspect, you know, or Titantrons or, you know, anything worthwhile. So whenever you're at the Royal Rumble and you hear someone's music, you got to hear, like, it is a silence, and then you're like, oh, who's that? Oh yeah, Finn Balor. Yeah, right. And you hear the or you hear like a trashy beat, and then it's like, who's that? Oh yeah, Zelina Vega with the SmackDown theme song. Oh wait, that's not the SmackDown theme. It sounds exactly like the SmackDown theme song though. Yeah, but one thing I don't understand is why they don't have Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes interact more when they've been on the same show for like a month. That's something I don't really get. I don't really understand it. But then we get the reveal of Lash Legend and Nia Jax's new team name, the Irresistible Forces. I'm pretty indifferent about the women's tag division, honestly, because it's like, okay, so you have two champions, two former champions. Okay, so we ain't got nothing for y'all right now. So let's just give y'all the tag team championships, have y'all fight over them. We don't know who to push right now, so we'll just put you two in a tag team. And then to fill time, we might end it in a no contest or whatever, or just have the titles change hands on a different show. And yeah, we'll go from there. You know, kind of what they're doing with Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. They're still giving Rhea Ripley the opportunity she doesn't really need because she's in the tag team. Like going over your Women's United States Champion and qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. I don't understand it, but I mean, it's not necessary. I'm like, if you're there's certain things that you just shouldn't really get if you're in the tag team. That's not really fair to the other people. But it's not my company. If it were, I wouldn't be price gouging. And then we get Obafemi versus The Miz next week because Obafemi talked The Miz into having a match. And then after that, we get all of this is just a whole bowl of nothing, though. Like, it's 3 hours of a drag. It's unfortunate, but then it really is because, man, SmackDown was really good at one point. Like 2016 era SmackDown, man, that was peak compared to 2026. But we get Shinsuke talking to Tamatanga because they have history, and then Drew McIntyre interfering in the match between Aleister Black and Randy Orton. But the thing is, Randy Orton versus Aleister Black has nothing to do with the Elimination Chamber. Only Randy's in the Elimination Chamber. So we have this entire episode centered around pretty much nothing because the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches don't really have anything of substance. Just three people, throw them in together. Heel, face, face, heel, face, heel. Let's have them fight. And then we have them qualify. So no real story or nothing to get invested in. And then the main event had Aleister Black beating Randy Orton. But that's nothing because that has nothing to do with the Elimination Chamber except for Randy Orton. So it's just, Elimination Chamber's in like 6 days, man. So we have 6 days left and not really much to go off of, unfortunately. So it's weird, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. But let me know what you think in the comments below about how you think Elimination Chamber will turn out. I don't really have any faith in. I mean, I don't know, man. This is just like, I don't know, dude. It's nothing, man. I don't understand why they have these things not surrounding, but it's just like the build to WrestleMania this year. It's not really a build. It's weird. It's a very complex. It's complex for no reason. I don't know, man. Let me know what you think about. I don't know. There's nothing to think about because, like I said, the Elimination Chamber season is just. We're getting these matches, like we're getting these qualifying matches, but nothing exciting. It's just, oh, you won, you get to be in the match, but at the same time, it's like. We're main eventing the show with something not to do with the pay-per-view itself. The pay-per-view is not even less than a week away. So I don't know, but that's about it. See ya.